Do my Beyonce in the living room, hurt my neck. United halt Liverpool's charge. El Clasico is postponed. Real Madrid keep tabs on Sancho. We've got a transfer roundup and, of course, today's Emoji Mondays. All coming up in the next few minutes as I'm your host, Matt Frolic. You are the Onefootballers, and this is the Daily News. So first off, add to the massive game for the weekend, which was Manchester United against Liverpool, where Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp has come out and said that he knows that Manchester United just always come to defend, and he sounded really salty about it. Guess what, Jurgen? Of course they're going to defend against you. Why on earth would a manager like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who's under serious pressure, go out and attack with a team of very little confidence against one of the best, if not the best, attacking teams in Europe? I mean, there have been the critics of Ole, but he's not that stupid, surely. He's not going to come out and play a ridiculously attacking team, knowing that they could be done on the break and be 4-0 down by half-time. In fact, I didn't actually think Manchester United were too defensive. They created quite a few chances and deservedly took the lead. Of course, Sadio Mane had his goal disallowed before a late equaliser from Adam Lallana saw Liverpool rescue a point, but it does mean that they don't get their 18-match and record-tying winning game in the Premier League. They are, however, still unbeaten. But talking of the goals and the big instances of the game, I did think that VAR had yet again another massive part to play. On the first goal, it didn't look like it was a foul on Origi. However, like 9 times out of 10, that's definitely given. In the middle of the park, when the defender comes from behind and makes any sort of contact on the attacker, normally it's given by the referee, so I can't see how with all the VAR, it then wasn't given. But fair play to United, who continued. Daniel James with a great bit of speed, and of course Marcus Rashford finished it off, but Liverpool have to continue playing. You can't just wait for a free kick, and Divock Origi, even though it would have looked stupid, should have just got up and continued instead of rolling around, because you can see on the replay, clearly nothing really hurt that much. As for the Sadio Mane goal, that is ridiculously harsh. Yes, it touched his hand, so in line with the rules, it was the correct decision because it was a handball. But there's no way he could have possibly known. He's like watching the ball over his shoulder and it just hits his arm and he's not even looking. But the only thing is that it did kind of kill the ball dead and allowed him to score. I think it was all very harsh, but VAR had more than a say in loads of the weekend's football, as unfortunately it always seems to do. But moving on to El Clasico, and in Friday's Daily News, Ed brought you the rumours that Real Madrid and Barcelona were looking for a new date for the Clasico, having been postponed. Well, now they have found a new date, and it's going to be Wednesday, December the 18th. This is because of the political unrest in Catalonia at the moment. Barcelona did originally say they felt the fans would be safe inside the ground, as they've always shown exemplary behaviour within the stadium. This wasn't enough for La Liga, and they did suggest that the game could be reversed, so that they'll play the first leg at the Bernabeu, and later on in the season the second game will be held at the Camp Nou. Both teams completely rejected this, so it looks like they had to find a new date, as I mentioned, which has been set at December the 18th. Clement Lenglet, the Barcelona defender, came out and said that whether or not they think it's the right decision, they just have to accept it and have to play the game whenever it is. It really would have been a tasty one at the moment, considering Real Madrid's loss at the weekend, Barcelona looking to return to form, and the fact that only 1 point separates them in the league table. I was definitely excited for the game, but I'm sure many fans will still be loving it when it rolls around in the middle of December. And talking of Real Madrid, they've been linked with the English star Jadon Sancho, who was left out of the Borussia Dortmund squad this weekend on disciplinary reasons. Now, apparently, if Kylian Mbappe doesn't want to be leaving PSG next summer, Real Madrid are going to spend a huge amount of money, potentially up to 160 million euros, on Jadon Sancho. Is that a bit too much for him? I believe so, but who knows what happens in the crazy transfer market. Anyway, on to the reason why he didn't play in Dortmund's 1-0 victory over Borussia Mönchengladbach at the weekend. Well, apparently he returned late from international duty, and no one really knows why. When asked about it afterwards, Lucien Favre said he's focusing on the squad and doesn't really want to talk too much about Sancho's incident. It all stays internal. Despite this, though, the sporting director of Dortmund did say that he expected Sancho to travel with the squad for the Inter Milan match this week in the Champions League, and that he has been training with him. He said that Sancho is obviously a fantastic young player and sort of tested his limits and borders, of which they had to discipline him. Now, it didn't actually make too much of a difference, as Dortmund were deserved winners over the weekend, although I'm sure with Sancho in the side, they could have made things a little bit more comfortable. Of course, VAR had a massive say in that one as well, giving the most ridiculous offside decision for Marco Reus, whose heel was offside, and then there was also build up to another goal and it still didn't stand. Unbelievable. Next up into the daily/transfer news, a Real Madrid are very active and they're interested in Norway's Erling Braut Haaland. Alongside this, and Alexander Lacazette could make his return to first-team action for Arsenal against Sheffield United tonight. Over the weekend, there were fears that Corentin Tolisso suffered a heart attack in Bayern Munich training, but that was just put down to dizziness and dehydration, and thankfully the midfielder is okay. But that would have topped off a pretty awful weekend for Bayern, who dropped points late on to Augsburg and also saw Niklas Süle pick up an ACL injury, which means he could even miss the rest of the season and the Euro 2020 tournament with Germany. So next up, and of course we come to look back on your Friday, feels that you guys left with Ed in the daily news on Friday. First off, Lebisem Wakatobe guessed that Liverpool and Manchester United would draw 1-1, which they did. Malvin 1.0 also said that Barcelona would finish top of the Liga at the end of the game week, which they also did, but just by 1 point. And Max Machula guessed that Dortmund would win 1-0, which I mentioned they did. No part thanks to VAR, it probably could have been 3-0. So lastly but not least, we come to Emoji Monday, where we give a few emojis to the relevant players from the weekends. For those of you that don't know what it's about, we've got the best player, the worst player, and the best result of the weekend. You can let me know yours in the comment section down below. As for the best player, I've got 2 this week. First off, Andre Gomez bossed the midfield for Everton in their fantastic victory over West Ham, and Edison in a Manchester City goal was incredible. Some amazing saves against Crystal Palace to keep a clean sheet. As for the worst player, VAR. Not even a player, but just the worst. The weekend was so poor. Everything took so long. There was even a mess up at Spurs where they said there was no goal, even though the referee actually gave a goal for Dele Alli. Massive confusion. And lastly but not least, the victory of the weekend goes to Mallorca. 1-0 over Real Madrid. That's a pretty decent result. So there you have it, a mammoth Monday daily news for all of you guys. But let me know your thoughts and your Emoji Mondays in the comment section down below. Click here or here to check out all of the other videos we've got going on OneFootball. And until next time, I will see you guys later.